All right, so what we're about to get into, well, it's an explainer based on a leaked, classified case file. And listen, this is not your average corporate memo. No, this is a deep, deep dive into a massive conspiracy. And we're talking about secrets that were absolutely never supposed to see the light of day. Honestly, this quote from the source file, it just says it all. It's like someone literally took a blender, threw in The Firm, Ozark, Succession, Black Mirror, Narcos, and then just hit puree. What we're about to unpack is this completely unhinged thriller that mixes boardroom backstabbing, raw cartel brutality, and some seriously scary high-tech horror. It feels like it was ripped straight from tomorrow's headlines. And get this, a final warning comes attached right to the dossier. It basically says the information we're about to unpack is forbidden knowledge. Think of it like a corporate autopsy that's so dangerous it could literally get people disappeared. So, yeah, consider yourselves warned. All right, let's peel back the first layer of this thing. It all starts with a company called Nephilex Winds. Now, on the surface, they look amazing, right? A total beacon of clean energy. But you guessed it, underneath all that, something is deeply, deeply wrong. And this slide right here, it just lays out the central conflict perfectly. Publicly, Nephilex is celebrated. They're America's #1 green energy company. But the leaked file, it tells a very different story. It calls them a front, a cartel-backed death machine, a company propped up by dirty money and even dirtier secrets. So, the cracks in the facade? They started to show up, and fast. The file points to all these red flags: a sudden spike in employee accidents, and even darker, mysterious suicides. You've got extreme stock volatility, margin calls from Wall Street. And at the same time, you see these executives driving around in flashy Cybertrucks. I mean, come on. This is all happening while the company was supposedly bleeding cash. So you have to ask yourself, right? Why all the mysterious deaths? Well, the answer is, it's as grim and calculating as it gets. It all boils down to this really disturbing financial scheme that literally turns human lives into corporate assets. Okay, so the entire scheme hangs on this very real and super controversial practice called corporate-owned life insurance. It has this awful nickname, dead peasant insurance. And the concept is just, it's shocking. A company takes out a life insurance policy on its own workers. Then, when that worker dies, the company, not the family, gets a big, fat, tax-free payout. Now, to be clear, there is a legit version of this. It's called key person insurance, and it's for covering the loss of, a super important executive. But that is not what Nephilex was doing. No way. They were doing the exploitative version, insuring regular rank-and-file workers, not to cover business losses, but for pure, cold, hard profit. And here's the crazy part. This isn't just something out of a sci-fi novel. The source file actually grounds this whole conspiracy in real-world scandals. We're talking about major companies like Walmart and Winn-Dixie. In fact, these things caused so much public outrage that Congress actually had to step in and pass the Pension Protection Act of 2006 just to try and stop the worst of the abuses. So, what's the bottom line here? It's all about the sheer financial incentive. I mean, just look at these numbers from the file. A junior engineer dies, the company gets $1 million. A senior engineer, $4 million. And the head engineer, get ready for this, his life was insured by Nephilex for a staggering $3 billion. That's billion with a B. It's just insane. Okay, so profiting from accidents is, well, it's ghoulish, but it's one thing. But actually engineering those accidents to make sure you get the payout, that is something else entirely. And this right here is where the conspiracy takes a nosedive into something way, way more terrifying. We're about to talk about the weapon that makes all these accidents possible. So you got to put yourself in the shoes of these masterminds. They had a very specific technical problem they needed to solve, right? How do you stage a perfect, completely traceless suicide that guarantees a multi-million-dollar insurance payout? One that leaves zero trace of foul play so those policies pay out, no questions asked. And their solution is pure tech dystopian horror. It's called the GLW369Z. It's a neural microchip implanted directly into employees. At first, it sounds almost useful. It has modes to boost productivity and ensure compliance. But then there's the third mode, the kill switch. It can remotely flood a person's brain with overwhelming despair, literally inducing irreversible suicidal ideation. It's a remote control murder button. So, how do we know this horrifying thing actually works? Well, the case file is chillingly clear on this point. The very first live test of the kill switch, it wasn't on some random low-level worker. No, it was on their own company president, a guy named Martin Scuizko. His suicide was the proof of concept, and it just so happened to net Nephilex a cool $5 million. There's a hacker mentioned in the file, Baby Luke Nesser, and he nails the existential threat here perfectly. He says, this chip isn't innovation, it's a leash on humanity. And that's exactly what it is. It's not about progress or efficiency. It's about absolute control. But look, a conspiracy this big, this sophisticated, it's never just a couple of rogue executives in a boardroom. The file shows this is a sprawling network of incredibly powerful players. We're talking cartels, billionaires, and people in the highest levels of government, all working together to keep this dying company on life support. First up, you've got the money man, Miguel Coronado. This guy is a major cartel boss, and he's using Nephelex's land leases, their wind farms, as a giant front to launder hundreds of millions in blood money. He's the one keeping the company solvent when, by all rights, it should have collapsed years ago. Then you need political protection, right? And they've got it. According to this file, the vice president herself, Marianne Lane, is compromised. She's being blackmailed by Coronado's people with some very explicit tapes from yacht parties. The price of her silence? Killing any and all federal investigations into Nephilex. And finally, there's the billionaire vulture, Jura McCauley. This guy didn't just invest in the neural chip. Oh no, the file alleges he specifically funded the development of its kill switch. And now, he's just circling, like a vulture, waiting for the company to completely implode so he can swoop in and buy the whole thing, including its horrifying tech, for pennies on the dollar. So what's the immediate prize in the middle of this whole mess? $10 million in untraceable bearer bonds, which are basically just like cash. And it's all sitting in the cartel's heavily fortified safe house down in Galveston. Okay, so you've got this massive web of corruption. A cartel boss, a blackmailed VP, a sociopathic billionaire. Who on earth could possibly take all that down? Well, the file introduces the answer. An elite, totally off-the-books Black Ops team known only as the Family. And here's their dossier. You've got Claudia Reid, the boss, Rex Steele, he's the fixer and field lead, Baby Luke Nesser, the hacker. And yeah, he's the one who likely compiled a lot of this file. Priyanka Singh, the honey trap, and finally Knut Miller, he's the heavy. Their mission? It's paid for by some mysterious, high-paying client, and it is straightforward and brutal. For $5 million, they have to stop the hostile takeover, get those $10 million in bonds back, and make certain people, well, make them disappear. And that brings us to the final haunting question that just hangs over this entire case file. I mean, think about it. With a web of corruption this vast and powerful, who hired them? Who has the power, the motive, and the $5 million in cash to hire this team, to make these people disappear, to just burn it all to the ground? The file, it never says. It just leaves you wondering.